anything like that?
Actually, I need to go through yesterday's streamline, ma'am, because
Yeah. Not
once I'm
yesterday's.
done.
Yesterday's, either way, you were not there. But I'm talking about the day when we had the class.
No, ma'am, that is pretty clear. Even after 10 years, I can explain it.
I think that's a bit too much of flattery. Fine. Okay, fine. So let's
No,
get
ma'am, like
into
it was in detail cleared.
fine, good. As long as it's yeah, it suits the purpose. Fine, Usha. So let's get into the details, right? Now, when we're talking about advertising and print, generally the two things that get across into our mind are the newspaper advertising and the magazine advertising. Okay, so when we're talking about newspaper advertising, uh, like people feel in the rest of the world, right? Um, Newspaper is a dying medium. If you go to West, in the West, newspapers are distributed almost at some of the papers are just distributed free of cost, and unless they are big papers like Washington Post or something like that. But otherwise, you find that most of the newspapers uh, there has been a shutdown, as in the case like during the time of COVID. Many newspapers died, even in India too. The local newspapers, which were very very vocal, which were very representative. We are talking about representation. These local newspapers were representative of the local issues. They were representative of the issues concerning the farmers, issues concerning the Dalits, the issues concerning the women in a particular area. So there were many local and area specific newspapers that were published. And because of COVID, obviously, we found that many newspapers of this category have been shut down. Though still, you do have some mainstream newspapers which are continuing and still going ahead, and they are there pretty much in the market. But there has been a lot of downsizing that has happened. You find that the number of newspapers pages have come down drastically. So there are a lot of issues that are connected with the newspaper industry post COVID scenario. But in spite of that, we see that there are advertisements, lot of advertisement that are put up in the newspapers, and there are still many families that still subscribe to newspapers, because for them it is there so much in depth in the Indian psyche that you start a day with a newspaper. Right. That's why still newspapers continue to still hold market in the Indian media scenario. Right. So if you look into the characteristics of newspapers, right? Why do you think newspapers? What is making the newspapers still attracting advertising? I think you would have read about newspaper characteristics in the SEM 1 or SEM 2. You would have done that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, do you remember any characteristics that makes the newspaper still the most sought out medium? Because obviously now many newspapers are subscribed online digitally, because you find that the digital subscription is much lesser than the regular subscription. If you talk about a newspaper, what is the cost of Hindu newspaper? If you see the price of the newspaper, it is 12 rupees, which is quite expensive, right? On the other hand, now on the digital platforms, like if you go to there is there are you have something like news aggregators like Google News, Yahoo News, or you have so many news websites, right? These are called news aggregators, which bring in news, some kind of hard news, though they may not give the entire news story, but at least you have some kind of a headline and 4 5 lines that are there for your reading. But in spite of all these constraints, still you have the newspapers that are predominantly advertising friendly, and still many companies go in for newspaper advertising. Why is it that so? What unique characters make newspapers still the much sought out medium for advertising? Why do you think so?
Because newspaper, they will be the primary characteristic of it is accuracy, the presenting the news, whatever they are going to deliver it. And they certainly do balance in the objectivity what they are presenting without showing any partiality or focusing on one subject, hiking about or praising about one particular thing and hiding the defects of the thing. So that is another characteristics what I liked in the presentation of the newspaper. And thing is like they only emphasize on the elements which are very much important and efficient, even with the digital, like photo, with the photo layouts, so that even somebody who is not going to miss through that page, that is a fact
Yeah.
which
So
through which they
yes,
can attract and
yeah,
go through it. And
correct. So, but the point that they are very objective is again a subjective statement. Why is it so? Because again, newspapers are owned by media barons, so they're obviously looking at the content. You know whether it is supporting a particular party or not. So something like Sakshi obviously supports Jagan. Something like Enadu, to a great extent, supports Chandrababu Naidu, TDP party. NTR, it was pro NTR, right? So objectivity is highly subjective statement, but to a great extent, I think newspapers, like, there is a feeling that the element of neutrality, objectivity, maybe to some extent, still people rely on the newspapers for the soft news or the hardcore news, whatever the soft news, especially, people still rely on newspapers and magazines. Okay, the reasons why, as we're talking about, the reasons why still people go for newspapers is because newspapers reach, the penetration is highest. Even before television came, even before radio could successfully get into the deep villages, even before that, newspapers, the print media is the first ever existing media. So there is an extensive penetration that is there with the newspapers. So obviously, because the penetration is there, so there is already a market that has been established. Maybe the percentage has come down, but it is not as though it has totally disappeared. Okay, so there is this market that is prevailing. So because of that, the reach is much more easier. And in terms of flexibility, when you're talking about newspaper, right? So the deadline is mostly 24 hours. You can always change the content just before 24 hours of publishing. So that is highly impossible, especially so in the case of television, or in the case of print, or in the case of hoarding, might be you can change because it is within your hand and it is a flexi. Mostly off late, it is a flexi hoardings that we are getting it. But with the case of newspapers, you find that there is a possibility, since the newspaper deadline is 24 hours, you are able to, if at all there is some last minute corrections that can be done, or you need to change some content or a presentation style, you can always do that. So that flexibility is there. And as we talked about, there is a lot of geographical selectivity. So you have uh, area specific newspapers, you have region specific newspapers, you have national papers, you have international newspapers, right? We are able to get international newspapers even in India. You can, the paper is published in, say, Washington, and by the next day flight, the paper is there with you. So it's sometimes, or because it is a digital publication, now everything is digitized. So you can print that newspaper, but still the the newspaper act, we do have certain FDI rules. FDI is foreign direct investment rules, which does not permit 100% investment of foreign companies in the newspapers. That's why, though you do have foreign news channels, you don't have that for print media. Have you ever seen that aspect? Yes, Susha?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I understood the question local newspaper. Is it the question, ma'am?
No, 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 no. See,
Mm.
have you ever seen, did you ever see a foreign news channel on television?
Uh, yes, ma'am. I I follow Mexican news because I am a Spanish teacher. To
Oh,
enhance my vocabulary and the content where I can spread the information, including the weather and all. So to make that update, I'll be seeing um, so
so
then.
so that means that you have a possibility for watching 100%, not a commercial channel, but a news channel,
Yes,
right?
Shan, yes.
Be it the BBC, the CNN, Al Jazeera, you have Deutsche Welle, you had Russian TV. All these channels are news channels which are broadcast on the television, right?
Yes.
But have you ever seen a foreign newspaper in India publishing? There is, because it doesn't happen, because the foreign direct investment rules strictly prohibits it, any kind of 100% foreign newspaper ownership in India. So that's the reason why we don't have any foreign newspapers. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am. But we do have a digitalized newspaper which we can
Digital
follow.
digital platform. I'm talking about physical
Print,
copy. No,
a physical copy. Yes, ma'am.
we're not talking about digital. That way you have it on television also. No,
Yes. Even
so you
but a few subscription we can do, no, ma'am. People can subscribe like Elpais.
subscribe. You can get it on post, but there is no publishing that
And
is done
done
on
in
the
our
Indian
country.
soil.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, got it.
Okay. So, okay, why did I go into that? Okay, I'm talking about national newspapers. You have, there is something like geographical selectivity. Okay, with the newspapers, you can go for area specific advertising, which can reach the target consumers more efficiently. And in terms of acceptance, because people have leisure, right? You sit with a newspaper on a Sunday, or you sit with a newspaper on a afternoon, right? You find that people leisurely read through the newspaper. That doesn't happen with the TV. That doesn't happen with the radio, because once you miss it, you have missed it. So unlike that, in the newspapers, you find that um, the, the, the paper is available with you, and you can read, excuse me, you can read through the newspapers conveniently. So that gives that extra edge to the newspapers, which enables the target consumers to go through every word, literally every alphabet of the newspaper, and therefore the involvement levels are high. And at one point of time, definitely, the newspaper cover price was less. What do you mean by cover price? The rate of the newspaper was less. But now, with all this COVID, and with the lockdown hitting industries across, like just not media industries, but across different industries, you find that the cover prices have increased drastically, uh, and but otherwise the newspapers are relatively cheap. uh, Therefore, earlier people used to subscribe to newspapers. Now, definitely, the newspaper consumption has come down badly, though there is still continued subscription to newspapers. So, these are the specific characteristics which enables the advertisers to to choose newspaper for advertising. And apart from that, obviously, you have the mobility with the newspaper. There is a lot apart from the strong English newspaper industry. You have very many regional Hindi and regional industries that are there, print industries that are there. So if you look into the subscription of newspapers, it is not an English newspaper which has maximum circulation figures. Do you know which language has got maximum circulation figures?
English, ma'am, Deccan Chronicle.
No, that's what I said just now. It is not English paper that has got maximum circulation figures in India. Which
Hindu.
no, Sha.
No.
Which paper has got which language has got maximum circulation figures in India?
Oh, language paper. Okay.
When I say language, it means even English.
Yeah, like Hindi, I believe, ma'am, because it's an national language.
It is not
So,
national language. So that there is
oh, okay.
so much of controversy that is going on.
What we
So
have learned in sixth and seventh. So that was
Hindi is not
primary
a
things.
national language. It is one of the 22 languages that we have. Other languages that we have, Hindi is not our national language. So, so
Hindi, ma'am, because
yeah,
like
Hindi has
that
got
is
maximum number of circulation figures. Okay, so so there is so much demand for all the regional and Hindi and regional newspapers that still to reach, because see, when we read a newspaper in our mother tongue, definitely the satisfaction levels are high. So that's the reason why you read something in Hindi, or you read something in Telugu, or you read something in the mother tongue that you have. Definitely, though we are obviously using more of English, but the satisfaction or the impact that can be found through through the message conveyed through the mother tongue is definitely higher. Okay, when someone says some things in the mother tongue, definitely the impact proportion is higher. So that's the reason why the regional language newspapers continue to have a very strong hold in the advertising segment. Okay, so but having seen all these things, can you just think of any limitations that you can see with the newspaper advertising?
ma'am, can you repeat the question once?
Say, with having discussed so many positives about the newspaper advertising, what are the things that come across your mind when you're talking about the limitations in terms of newspaper advertising?
And the memory will be very short, ma'am. When they are reading it, only that particular time they will be going through. Maybe that will not reflect again and again like the hoardings and all.
Okay.
And
See, one major drawback with the advertisement is advertising in newspapers is that it is a static medium. One very severe drawback, because in radio or television or film or online, you find that the ad is moving, right? This is just a picture. Now the main the next target consumer group, the youth, the teenagers of this generation, especially the current generation, they are so much used to interactive media. Newspaper looks like a static media. That is the major drawback. And the way the picture is put up in the advertisement in the newspaper depends upon the quality of the newsprint. If the newsprint quality, if the newspaper, uh, obviously the newsprint is when I'm talking about newspaper quality, if the quality of the newsprint is bad, the advertisement or the pictures look blurred. Even if it is in color, it doesn't have that glow, that shine. So there is a difference between magazine newspaper and there is a difference between um, uh, newspaper advertising, magazine advertising and newspaper advertising. But still, we find that even in both the mediums, um, the impact depends on the glossiness of the newspaper. To some extent, even in the magazines, the advertising is good because the paper is glossy and give that shine and that life to the advertisement. But in newspaper, the advertisement looks dull until unless the newsprint quality is very high. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am. Basing on the newspaper printing method, I mean, like the quality of it, the things will not give up to the shine mark what we generally reflect with the colorful advertisements which we see in the television. It is not
Yes.
that attractive.
Yeah. See, uh, and to just talk about the newspaper advertising being a static advertising. Yesterday's class, I talked about how in hoardings they are putting QR codes. I think all of us are familiar with the QR codes.
Yes, ma'am. Because if we scan through the
Yes. So like this, the QR codes are there at the end of the newspaper, right?
yes,
Have you seen this? Are you able to see it?
yes, ma'am. It's there in the right
Yeah,
lower
this
corner.
corner there is the QR code. So to make it interactive, the paper itself could be static, but to make it interactive, even the advertisers, the newspaper, the sponsors are putting these QR codes in the advertisements to make it little bit interactive and make it into a, so it is leading to the online advertising, which is again given by the same company, right? So by default, it is a static. Who will have the
Yes,
patience to scan the QR code? Who are genuinely interested about? See, this advertisement is about Aparna Sarovar ad. Okay, so if at all someone is interested in buying an apartment in the Aparna Sarovar, um, yeah, Aparna community. So people would scan the QR code, and with that QR code, they can get into the details and understand. But as such, the advertisement is static. Have you understood? So these are the technological developments that the advertisers are trying to, and so you have an integration of different kinds of media that's happening over here. So on one hand, it's technically a newspaper advertising, but by having this QR code, it has become into a digital advertising as well. Are
but
you seeing it?
either way, it is the same presentation. No? They are not going to. It is the same presentation, right?
No, no, no.
But it
Why?
will be a little bit colorful because it is a photo scan copy over there, and here it's print.
No, no, no. In the QR thing, you take it, they'll have a proper video. See, that would be a proper digital advertisement, like how you have so it will lead to the already existing digital advertisement that is there, which gives a 5D view of the apartment, flats, the swimming pool. It gives the entire view. So
But
that way, yes.
But the one who is reading the newspaper, they already have it. So they will not spend much more time on what is this ad by scanning the QR code and all. I
That's what
think,
I'm saying. No, if you are interested, see, either way, no one reads the newspaper as such. Who would go into Aparna's until unless it is very attractive, just get into and see the ad. But otherwise, if who would see an advertisement who are interested in getting into, oh, for example, someone planning to buy an apartment, a flat. So they would look into the details. And once you have the QR done, it is making their life easier, right? Yes, are you getting the point?
yes, ma'am.
Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, so, so there are definitely for any
But this
medium
has
there are
come under
limitations.
limitations, no, ma'am. So,
That's what I'm saying. Technically, it is a static medium, but by bringing about this QR aspect element, this has been made into a type. That's the reason why I said static medium to start with. Technically, it is a static medium, but by bringing the QR code, that static medium has become an interactive medium. Only if you do that QR scanning only it becomes interactive. Otherwise, it is a static medium, right?
yes, ma'am.
So there is a mix here. There is a integration of different kinds of medium that is put up. Did you understand this aspect, Usha?
Yes, ma'am.
See, not all would get into the QR code scanning. No, how many would get into QR code scanning? To start with, looking at the ad itself is an extra bonus. So once you look the ad, until unless you are very keen about that product, you wouldn't get into doing scanning the QR code. Only then it becomes a dynamic medium. Till then it is only a static medium.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. See, now you will start appreciating how that all of us would watch the QR code in the advertisement, but we wouldn't apply mind to understand that, see, this QR code has made this only students of advertising will be able to relate that aspect. Like how from one medium, from a very static medium, how the advertisement has transformed itself into a dynamic. This applies same with the magazine also. Every mag now more or less most of the advertisements that are put up in the newspapers or in the magazines have a QR code at the end to facilitate the target consumers in providing that extra details, extra information that they would wish to know. As such, making it more a dynamic medium. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
But
Now,
by making it too much of mess, too much of things need to be focused, understood, and evaluated, then doing it. Uh, it's like more time consuming, but this is only for the targeted, specific targeted people only, the who are willing. So it is again confined to a certain people.
that's there with any medium, right?
Yes.
That's there with any medium, that's there with any product. So, uh, so that's the limitation that the advertisers are willing to go for. Otherwise, it is tough to if you
Take a
want
risk.
every. Otherwise, it is not so easy to do it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So same goes with the advantages with the magazine. So you have selectivity, then the photographs, right? There are exclusive photographs that are done for magazine advertising because you have that glossiness, and there are many magazines that focus so much on the advertisements that you have special photographs that are taken out, rolled out just for the magazines to attract the eyeballs. So photographs play a very important role in the magazine advertising. And then there is the reproduction quality. The magazine have the high quality of paper and the printing process that is used. See, even if you look at the photographs, like the photographs, digital photographs, right? Now with the digitization, based on the kind of camera
Basing
that
on
you
the
use. Yes, go ahead, Usha.
that's what, ma'am, I was about to say. Basing on the camera, again, the photographic things will be different. Like in the newspaper, how the printing medium has been improvised, like from offset printing. To the,
Yes, yes, that is so correct. So it's like you have the photographs, and these photographs are of high quality based on the camera that they are being used, they are using it, and it is through this use of these big quality photographs that the eyeballs are attracted. Right. So sometimes you cannot take off eyes from, if you're talking about some wildlife photography or wildlife advertising, if there is some photograph, you feel so fascinated. It's because of the quality of that is of the camera that is used. So these are extra advantages with the uh, with the with the magazines. And in the case of the flexibility that is not there in the newspapers, right? You have that with magazines. So in the Indian magazine, you can have about 100% foreign direct investment. So that gives that extra investment and therefore extra returns. So you have quality that is much more better and much more uh, impactful. Is this clear?
yes, ma'am.
So the limitations would be, again, you have high costs, then you have limited reach and the times of frequency. And once you see the magazine, you put it aside, you don't get back to the magazine. The shelf life is less. Shelf life may be technically more, but you don't get back to the magazine to watch it. Right. So that is the problem. Unlike in television, where they go for repeated reminder advertising, that is what is happening in the case of television. It doesn't happen in the case of magazine, because magazine comes once a week or once fortnightly or once in a month. So the repetition is less. But unlike in the case of television or in the case of radio or in the case of digital platforms, so that could be one big limitation, because after putting in so much of monies into making of the advertisement very like expensive and very cost specific, it could be a one-time watch, or max it could be a two-time watch. Okay, so that could be the reason why maybe it can say it won't encourage, technically discourage the advertisers to go for magazine, but still you find a good amount of advertising going in for magazine. Still, the fact that the magazines are surviving, still the fact that newspapers are surviving, we can say that like they still have a life to go, especially in a country like India, though not so in the case of for Western countries. Yeah. So now we will be talking to you about the layout in the newspaper. But I think before that, if you have any doubts, we can clarify on that.
Doubts as such, there is nothing, ma'am. Apart from this investment part of business strategies, like the people who are like especially targeted people only again the magazines, like the one who wants to know the statistics of the what is business, how the business world is going on. For them, this business magazines will be most useful, and they will be repetitively knowing the statistics data more. And for the one who is in the fashion world, they will be knowing about this, what's going on in the entertainment world, and how to keep them upgraded themselves. Like this, the beauty products and all the things will be advertised in. Basing on the type of a magazine, again, the contents of the advertisements also restricted. That is a limitation. Uh, in means like in femina magazine, they cannot post the business advertisements where that will not people cannot relate with
Yeah,
it.
that is,
So
yeah.
that is a
So
limitation.
that's the difference. No, there are general magazines, there
Yes,
are specific magazines. So general magazines say something like
Reader's Digest.
Reader's Digest or Week, India Today. Like you have these magazines which are general magazines which cover right from politics to arts to culture frontline to arts, culture, sports. Okay, they have everything. So that's the difference, right? We have general and you have specific. So something like Femina is a specific magazine. Something like Sports Star, Sports World, Computer World.
Magazine.
So yeah, so there are so many specific magazines which cater to the target consumers. There are general magazines which target general consumers as well. So based on the interest and the taste, accordingly you subscribe to. There are religious magazines. So these are read by a particular segment of the people, right? So that's how you have. So based on that, the nature, the product advertising is done accordingly. So in a religious magazine, obviously you won't have any advertisement concerning to mostly cosmetics or something like that. Mostly it would be something connected to Ambika Darga, um, Darbar, Agarbatti, or something connected to some Chandan or something like that. So specific magazines cater to specific product advertising also. So you won't find a bike or a car in a religious magazine. So like that. So based on the target groups and needs of the target consumers, you have the advertisements that are put up in the specific magazines. Yeah.
But there is a possibility, ma'am, because there is we can even cover up those audience also who are not going to see the other things, because the target like religious people, they definitely don't go on the products of the bike and all. They'll not see if they are getting promoted over there. Means like bike ad over there, they will certainly go through. It's an add-on. Apart from that,
Generally, they won't do Usha because they know that the mindset of the clientele, right? See, if I am looking into, if you, that's the reason why, as you have just said, if you look into Femina, right, most of the ads, about 90% of the ads are focused either on the dresses, boutiques, cosmetics, hair growth, something like that. The maybe it's, I'm not denying that there wouldn't be, but the percentage, the probability would be less, because
yes,
for that you have other things, and the percentage would be very very negligible of having other kinds of product advertising in this kinds of specific magazines. Is this clear?
yes.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, don't you think so?
Initially, I also thought the same thing, but a businessman even thinks why to take a negligence of a chance of missing that 0.01% of the client. They may.
It's may means here money is there, no?
Yes, yes,
So it's not like they can put it at the free of cost. They're investing money. So if you invest money, you need to look into the returns.
yes,
So that's the reason. Okay. Now, uh, so having done this, let's get into the layout. You know what a layout is?
yes, ma'am. The way how they are presentation of the things means like
The
right from the
advertisement in a particular way is a
order.
layout. Yeah. So that is the layout. So, but before the final layout comes, the advertiser passes through certain stages. It's not like whatever the ad that we are seeing in the newspaper, right? Whatever ad that we are seeing on the newspaper, this advertisement is not something that has happened uh, just like that, and it is presented to us in a matter of time. No. So when a layout is made for an advertisement, for that matter, any advertisement, they pass through certain stages before the final layout gets to the reader's attention. So first you have something like thumbnail sketch. Thumbnail, as the name indicates, is something very small, 2 inches into 3 inches dimension, not more than that. That is the max that you can have. So thumbnail is something like this. Like they give a very brief copy. It could be done on a paper so that they can, if they want to change, because everything need not be based on the computer and the printout. And so it's because it is a very basic preliminary idea. They don't have to uh, use all this equipment. So generally, it is written, the idea, the concept that is put across, coming up with some basic idea. Say what you have, whether you want to have a full length picture, or whether you want to have a picture on the left or the right, where do you have the logo, where do you have the tagline, where do you want to have the headline, the subhead, all these things. So just a basic idea. That's what uh, the thumbnail sketch gives. Then comes the rough sketch. So the rough takes the best of the thumbnail layout, and it rough gives the exact of the final ad. It could be again, because once you have picked whatever the thumbnail comes up with, so next they pick up the final ad size paper. It could be done with a pencil or paper, or even on the system, because everything now is done on the system, right? So they put the exact things. So it is more or less like an exact size of the final ad. Then once this is passed through the copywriter, the copy editor, and the illustrators. So everything, there is the copy department discusses the entire thing. So finally, when it is there is an understanding between all of them, the visualizer, the illustrators, the copywriters, the copy editors, because the way a copywriter visualizes may not be visualized in the same way by the illustrator or the visualizer. So right from the font size, whether to use, you have so many different types of fonts. So what type of font to be used and what size has to be used, everything should go in an alignment. So once that is done in the rough sketch, then this copy is presented in a composite form, the composite sketch, to be shown to the client. So whatever the client, if it is shown to if the client is happy, any small errors that could be checked, or if the client comes up with a suggestion, what to be done and how to be incorporated, whether there is a possibility for incorporation or whether there is a possibility for elimination, because once you do that, the balance may be lost. So taking into all these things, the composite sketch could be prepared. Then the final copy is prepared with the film negative, a, a linotronic proof, or a file maybe on a disk. So a final copy is prepared, which could be taken for the print. Okay, so all these things could be can be done with a neat paste up, and finally it could be done for position for the camera. So everything would be put, because obviously you take a picture with the camera and only then the final thing will go. Is this clear, Usha?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's how the layout goes, the layout structure goes. So obviously, like, it's not as though like you think of something and then whatever is put on the paper is final. Never. There will be a lot of discussions, a lot of debates, even for us as well. You try to come up with some creative form, like designing a place in office room, or designing a place in the hall, or you want to put some picture in a hall. You come up with so many ideas. No, if this angle is perfect or this angle is perfect. where to put it, you have a discussion and all these things. Similarly, even for a layout, advertising layout, there is a lot of discussion that gets into it. You have what are the four stages? You have the rough. First, you start with a thumbnail,
Thumbnail,
then,
rough,
yeah,
composite, and reproduction.
yeah, reproduction proof, where the final copy it is put on, and then it is carefully pasted for a click from the camera. Okay. So,
Yes.
but when this layout is done, okay, these are the processes. Okay, the thumbnail and all these things. But how does this happen in the rough? When the rough is being made or when the composite is being made, right? The main three elements that needs to be taken are the colors, the shapes, and the textures. So what color combination should go? What shapes have to be used? Shape means whether it has to be rectangular, whether it could be oval, whether it has to be a square.
For a step.
So what color has to be used, what shapes have to be used, and what kind of texture has to be used. So where to use what? So it is a combination of all. How to make a visual piece? So the basic units of a visual piece, any kind of a visual piece, are the colors, the shape, and the texture. See, if you look at any ad, right? Uh, what is the color that is used over here in the Aparna
Sky
thing?
blue.
Sky
Sky
blue.
blue.
Yeah. Why do you think sky blue has been used?
Maybe it's under the
Uh,
they are trying to tell it's open to sky, and we have lots of we are related to the environment.
yeah, more environment friendly. It could be driving certain message. Now let us look at this advertisement from Amul. Are you able to say this?
Orange, yes, ma'am.
And what is the tagline that is going with?
Asli
So what does that mean?
means
Arm
like
is something. Yeah. So Amul going with, because it is giving arm. Uh, Obviously,
means
mango
mango.
is some. Yeah. So that goes right. So if it was a pistachio, it would have been in green. But when you are having this advertisement, okay, look, this ad. Uh, what is the other one thing that gets into your mind? What is the shape? Most of the advertisement, if you look, are rectangularly placed. Most. It could be a vertical rectangle or a horizontal
Horizontal.
rectangle. It could be in either format, but most of the ads, if you look at bike ads, right? Most of the bike ads are red in color. So why red? Because it shows power, it shows fastness. Red is something that is like fire. So you use fire, like something like you have that fire in you, something that indicates something like that. So every color has some story. So when a visual piece is being created, color plays a very important role. But apart from the dominant colors that we're talking about, it could be red, blue, green, yellow, whatever it is, there is one predominant color that is always there across all the advertisements. And what is that color? You can you guess what color could it be?
It's like mixture, ma'am. Red and orange. It's in between.
Yeah, this is red and orange. Okay, I'll go with some okay different ad, smaller ad, something. The newspapers have become so light. It was becoming even tough to hold in. Okay. So you see this ad? So it is an advertisement from the Haryana government showing that uh, they are distributing tablets to the students across as part of the mission. Uh,
Adaptive learning.
Adaptive learning. Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav. As part of that Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav,
Yes.
okay. So here you have Chief Minister, you have the banner. Okay, I'll just put it like this. It is easier for me as well to explain. Okay, so this is the way how it has been put up. Okay, it is like it shows the banner with the Prime Minister, and then you have the Chief Minister here. Okay, so but when you look at all these ads, the one specific color that I'm talking about, see, they have used green, red, blue, yellow, orange, or more or less different kinds of colors. But one predominant color that is always there is white. Because without that white space, right, it becomes difficult for us to, uh,
Identify the color.
no, it is difficult for us to focus attention. So any advertisement you take, any advertisement generally has white space.
The
Either
background they use white.
yeah, sometimes see this background it did not have white here. Okay, there is a light white at the end of the corner, but most of it is
Uh,
this picture. You take here, now here
it's
it
an
has,
educational institute ad.
yeah. No, it is, no, it's not about educational institution. It is given by Haryana government to show that how they are contributing towards digital learning. So, E-Adigam is for smart education. That is the campaign through which they are promoting e-learning, and to facilitate that, they are providing tablets. So, even if you take this Aparna Sarovar ad that I have shown you, or the Amul ad, right? Say, take the
Yes.
Amul ad. You have orange and white. So the point is that white is the most important color in any kind of advertisements, which we tend to not focus. Okay, so what are the main components for any visual piece? Obviously, colors, shape, and texture. Okay, but this is a science by itself.
Texture.
There is a texture. Okay,
Hmm.
so this is a science by itself. You have the principles and elements of design that gets into. It's a science. It's not something that is done randomly or put randomly. Everything has a, there is a certain element of research that gets into, because where your eyeballs are focused, what is the method that you would go for, how you would go for, right? So all these aspects have to be taken into cognizance when you are making the rough copy itself. The thumbnail is very basic, elementary. So when the rough is what we call. When the roughs are being made, the principles and elements of design are something that needs to be taken into cognizance. So I think we are done with the time, Usha. It's already one.
Yes, ma'am.
So any doubts still here?
No, ma'am.
You're sure? You're clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine then. If you have doubts, okay, you asked me to
I'll
share my
just,
number.
yes, ma'am. So,
Yeah. But how do I do a direct message from here, chat? I'm not aware.
You need to go to chat message, ma'am. To everyone is there.
Huh.
So you can click on everyone. There, my name will be like Usha. In this chat, only we three are there, ma'am. Post you
Okay.
and
See,
me.
Usha is there. Direct
Yeah.
message. Yes,
Yeah.
it's there. I got it. Okay. I've given you my number. Fine. You have any
Yes,
doubts, you
ma'am.
can approach me. I can
Yes,
help you
ma'am.
out with any kind of explanations or anything that needs to be understood.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.